Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of Adobe Live and the weekly creative challenge in Premiere Pro. My name is James Bonanno, and I am thrilled to be back on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon, morning, wherever you are joining us from. If you are tuning in on Behance, welcome Doris, Rob, Aria, Sean, the whole gang is here, ready to leave some questions in the chat. If you are watching this video on YouTube, make sure to click the link in the description and download those starter files. So like yesterday and like Monday, I've included the starter files so that you can follow along with me today, whether you edit alongside me or you do that in your free time after the stream. Totally a preference up to you, but I wanted to make sure that I included those starter files so that you can follow along with what we are doing today. So with that being said, today is all about short form content, specifically YouTube Shorts. So yesterday we talked about creating Instagram Reels. On Monday, we talked about the importance of audio. Everything is tying together here for the week of our creative challenge. And I'm really, really excited to sort of talk about YouTube Shorts because it's something that is fairly new to our workflow, to my workflow. And I thought I'd share some tips and tricks I have and go over a few different options for creating shorts and hopefully inspire you to do the same, on your own channel. So let's just hop in. Let's get started. And welcome, Rob, Anki. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here today. So before we actually dive into Premiere, in your starter files, you'll notice that I put together a little Google Doc of just some tips that I feel are going to give you the best results when creating YouTube Shorts. Again, I am no expert. There are far more creators out there that are finding a lot of success in the YouTube short world. And I wanted to touch on these a little bit because I think they're slightly different than the method you might use for Instagram Reels and for that kind of short form content. So the first thing you want to think about when creating a YouTube short is obviously the content and then the title of what that video or idea will be. I think the most compelling titles can, be some of the examples that I've listed here below. You can either use, archival footage that you have on your phone, footage that you've shot on, previous projects, or if you plan to shoot new content. So that's always the place that I start when I have an idea in mind. Am I going to shoot this from scratch, or do I have footage that I can repurpose? And I'm going to show you that here in a little bit. Okay, so for just more in-depth scripts, I tend to use Notion. Anna and I are starting to use that in our workflow, and it's really a great place to script out larger projects. For shorts, for me, it's more of like a field notebook and back of the napkin. Oh, I have this idea, let's go shoot it, or let me edit this really quickly. And the benefit of shorts is it's a very easy barrier of entry than having to create a super long form video for YouTube if you don't have the content available. Okay, so here's some tips. Again, these are just tips that I've sort of compiled myself based on creating shorts or seeing other people's shorts. I think make a video that is highly shareable and clickable and catches your attention quickly. Use phrases like, this is, or here we are, or even pose a question. Have you ever wondered this? Or these are our favorite meals when we travel, followed by those meals. Something that's going to get that viewer to stop what they're doing, stop scrolling, and click on that. I think captions and sort of in-your-face method is sometimes a little bit more successful. And again, research what shorts are doing well, what performs well, what makes you stop and think, oh, this is a really cool video. I'm going to click this video. Okay, and then here are just some examples of some short ideas that I may do down the line as I was planning this out. So something like, here are all the currencies we've collected from our travels around the world. Boom, into the video. Someone might be interested in that. This is what happens when you go dune bashing in Abu Dhabi. That's a story for another time, maybe for a YouTube short, and it captures the attention of someone watching it. So whether you lead that with voiceover or you speak directly to the camera like I'm doing right here, I think the shorts world tends to be, or they tend to want more interaction with some kind of voiceover rather than what Instagram Reels is currently doing. Okay, so that was quick. I wanted to put that in there. Look at that on your own time. But let's hop into Premiere because that's what you're all here to see. And Bruce, there is a lot of planning that goes into it. I think the more planning and pre-production you can put towards creating these videos, the better the product will be. The more refined it will feel and more deliberate it will feel. So this is a video that I created just this morning, and I want to play it back here because it hits on a lot of those factors that I just mentioned here. So I'm going to just play this back for a second. Here are 5 of the most satisfying sounds in my office. Here are 5. Cool. So I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. And there's a few reasons why I think it is captivating and compelling. I planned on editing this on the stream, but I thought we'd actually run out of time. So we're going to show this as an example, and then we're going to edit one slightly different from Iceland, time permitting. So I think including captions like this are a really, really interesting way to just, again, grab that viewer's attention. And so the way I've done this is I created this video right here in the office. I knew that I wanted to look directly into the camera. So I filmed it a couple different times. And the captions are also part of the story. So rather than one line being the caption, I decided to come in here. If I go to my central graphics, I open my captions and graphics window, you can see that I've actually laid these captions out more manually and created these really nice big text blocks. And I think that just stops you in your tracks with the yellow color and hopefully makes you want to watch more. And these quick cuts here, also driven by the sound without any music, was sort of the intention that I was going for. I find my office to be a pretty relaxing zone, almost like an ASMR style with the sounds that are in here. And I thought it was just a really good example to show you how quickly you can create something like this and what it can do for, growth on YouTube. One other thing I do want to mention is the quality of this video seems a little bit different than what I showed yesterday. And that's because I did shoot this with my Canon EOS R5 and my cinema camera. So those are my more professional cameras that I mentioned yesterday. I think that just, again, elevates it to another level in terms of production value. And it stands out a little bit more than just my cell phone. All right. So that's example number 1. Again, you have these project files. Feel free to play around with them yourselves. Feel free to incorporate different captions and do whatever you'd like with it. It's footage that I shot here this morning. Okay, so let's hop into a slightly different example. And this one, we're going to try to edit from scratch here. So I think voiceover also goes a long way with YouTube Shorts. It sounds really, really crisp. I mean, you can hear this microphone, hopefully from the stream. It sounds really good. So what I wanted to do is create something that was sort of showcasing beautiful footage of Iceland. And rather than just creating a video that says, here's Iceland, or like, Iceland's beautiful, I want it to be a little catchy right from the beginning. And so I led with this voiceover. Here is why Iceland is the most beautiful country in the world. So here is why Iceland is the most beautiful country in the world. In my opinion, I believe it is, but that can also create a little bit of, I don't know, some debate over the video, because people may think Iceland's not the most beautiful country in the world. Maybe they think New Jersey is, and so that allows people to create a comment thread to actually add that engagement. So I'm always trying to find ways to make it captivating, but also create some debate around it if someone wants to create that debate. It'll just give you more views on that video and more eyeballs on the video as well. All right, so let's just start from scratch here. I have the voiceover, which I recorded right here in Premiere Pro. For those that do not know how to record voiceover, my microphone is currently hooked up to Premiere. All I would have to do here is click this voiceover record button. I'm not going to do it because it'll echo on the stream here. And make sure that if you go to Premiere Pro, your audio hardware is set to the mixer or to the mic that you are actually using inside of Premiere. In this case, I have a Scarlett Solo, which is just my mixer and this mic, so that anytime I record voiceover, I'm doing it directly in Premiere. So I'm not having to record it somewhere else, bring it in. It's, again, time-saving tips and the most efficient way to do things. And then what it'll do is it'll save it as an audio file here in your project panel automatically. So we're going to play this. Here is why Iceland is the most beautiful country in the world. Okay. In for I for in, out for out. Comma is going to be a hotkey to just get that puppy into your timeline. And you'll notice when I play it back, here is why Iceland, we're only getting a left channel. And that's because I'm recording a mono mixer. So I'm going to go to effects. Very easy way to change that. You go fill right or fill left with right. So this is just going to fill the other side of your volume with what's missing. So I'm going to go fill right with left. is the most beautiful. And now I have a stereo track ready to go. Sounds super crisp. And Bob's your uncle. All right. I don't know where that saying came from, but I've heard it a lot lately, and I feel like I've been using it for random things. Okay, so let's go to our footage. And here's our footage. This is just what I provided to you guys. Again, what you can see here is I shot everything in 16:9. And this is a point that I want to mention. If you're planning on creating something custom specifically just for YouTube Shorts, I would tend to shoot everything in 9:16 format. It's very awkward, but we're already shooting our phone that way. So if you have a nice cinema camera or even your phone, make sure you're shooting it vertically, because you know that your aspect ratio inside of Premiere will be vertical as well. In this case, if I want to take this clip, for example, to start with, basically, I know that there's already all of this area on the right and left side of the waterfall that's going to get cut off no matter what. But that's okay, because the sort of the guts of this clip here is the waterfall. This is Skogafoss in Iceland. So I don't have to really be too concerned. Whereas something like, most of this is actually pretty good because it's all centered. But in this drone shot, I can only, take one part of that. So I'm going to take this clip here. I'm going to drag this into our timeline, and you'll see that it already kind of does a pretty good job because I centered the frame when I shot it. But I'm going to zoom this out a little bit, move the scale around. And then what I like to do is I come in here and show these guides so that I can have everything nice and centered, just for viewability. If you don't see that, go to your button editor window and click this show guides. And now you know that the waterfall is perfectly centered there. Here is why Iceland is the most beautiful country in the world. All right. And let's go grab another clip here. And I love this shot of the Northern Lights. I think that, again, is a very compelling next shot to come after a waterfall. All we're trying to do here is showcase our video as best we can and make sure that people are watching the entire thing. Laura, that's a great question. On this specific trip, I did not shoot those in 4K just because I had a different camera with me. But normally I shoot everything in 4K now. But you can, I think, if you shoot in 1080, it's totally okay. I tend to like to export things in 4K just for the sake of compression. Okay, so here we go. Boom, boom, boom. And because we have no sound like we had in the Office video, I know that the music in this case is going to be the hero, and that's going to lead us through this video. And if we have some time, maybe we'll throw some sound design and sound effects, bringing it back to Monday's creative challenge to see if we can really beef this up. Okay, I like the way this flag moves. I think it's cool because it's an Iceland flag. Maybe we can get a cool sound effect of the actual flag itself. So let's maybe drag that in. I and O are your friends in Premiere. And we're going to drag this in. Again, if you don't want to drag it, comma does the same thing. Command L will unlink the audio there, which we did not have. And because that is shot in 1080, we're going to have to zoom this in a bit, and we're going to move this over. Okay. So there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can either go clip by clip to adjust the aspect ratio, or if you do a global change, you can right click and go to new item, and you can go to an adjustment layer. It's a little trick. You can drag adjustment layer on top of all these, and then you're going to go to your effects control or your effects panel and click transform. And what this does is it basically makes your adjustment layer act as a transform property to scale everything or change the opacity of everything globally. So I'll just show you what that does in a second here. I'll drag this up. And now if I scale, everything underneath these clips is going to scale as well. So that's going to affect everything globally. And that would go for your rotation, your opacity, all those things. So adjustment layers are very powerful when you're looking to adjust things globally, the same way we used our audio mixer on Monday. Okay, so let's go back to our project here and let's keep on rolling. Let's see, we got any questions in the chat? Looks like everyone is pretty with it today. So thank you for those questions. I am stalling because I couldn't find where my footage was. There we go. All right, so I like this clip a lot here. I think there's a lot of nice movement in that. This was a nice drone clip on the road. Let's just drag that in. And actually, I'm going to move that here instead of the flag because I think it's more captivating. Boom. Oh, and I'm going to go back to my effects controls. Let's scale that to 90. And we're going to drag this out and bring our clip back a little bit. Boom. And I actually want to speed that up. So I'm going to right click and go to time remapping and speed. And we're going to add a speed ramp and drag this up to, let's say, almost like 400. Zoom in and make sure that's not such an abrupt ramp. And then drag the handles to smooth that out, because I have another clip that I think will match really well right next to this. And that is this clip here of my sheep. They're mine now. I own these sheep in Iceland. They are everywhere, and it's so cool to see. And so I got really lucky with some of these clips where the sheep just sort of admired what is this overhead? What's happening here? So we're going to drag that on. So we now have sort of a similar plane happening, and I think it's going to look really cool cut next to each other. So let's go I and O. I'm just going to render this. Sometimes rendering it in and out as your editing helps. Oh, that's cool. All right, and we're going to drag this back a little bit so we can see more of the sheep. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll add, on this end, I'll add a speed ramp so that we sort of connect the two with the same speed here. And this is something I like to do a lot in my work, just to create some transitions without any like artificial transitions. You're doing all of this just with these handles, just with speed ramping. Okay. Click this and boom, looks pretty cool. And let's take that music that I found. Again, this is music that I sourced from artlist.io. Epidemic Sound is another one that I use a lot. And like I mentioned on Monday, you have all of the access here to specific tracks that Premiere has teamed up with Epidemic on. So if you searched, let's just search cinematic and let's see, maybe we find something better in here and we play this back. That's pretty cool. I kind of like that. So let's go right click and let's add this to our project. Okay. And now you'll see over in my panel, it gets saved as a stock audio media. And basically, if you have a Premiere or if you have a Creative Cloud account, this allows you to sample the track. And then when you export the video, you're just going to have to right click this. I don't know if it's right here or if it's in the export window, but you basically have to purchase it just so that Adobe knows that you're using it. But let's just drag this in here and see if that works, because we don't have to actually leave Premiere, and that again saves us time and all the good stuff. All right. Here is why that sounds pretty cool, but it's very loud. We're going to drag this down. Here is why Iceland is the most beautiful country in the world. I mean, it's already like pretty cinematic and pretty epic, just with that first voiceover and then the music. I think all I would do here is take my points P on my keyboard and I would adjust the volume down here, and then I'd bring it up once the footage happens so that the viewer then knows, okay, the voiceover is the start and now we're going into the bulk of the video, which is the music. Yes, Rob, Epidemic Sound does have sound effects and Foley sounds. I actually have that up right here. I wanted to show everyone. So this is sort of the main hub of Epidemic. If you go to Browse, you'll notice that there's sound effects right here. And what's cool is there's featured sound effects by like album. So I use the weather one a lot of the time. You can search it by popular. You can even just come in here and just search like wind. And then all of these different sound effects will come up. You can find similar ones. It's very powerful. Highly recommend it. And I find a lot of my sound effects for my videos through Epidemic. All right. And I actually think this song works pretty well. Here is why Iceland. Okay, we're going to adjust this a little bit more. Iceland is the most beautiful country in the world. So let's add a little sound effect here that I have for a waterfall. So let's import this. I put this in my folder. You may not have that because I think I added this a little bit late. But again, if you do have Epidemic or if you have another place to source sound design, sound effects, feel free to use what you have. Okay, so that's obviously very loud, but we're going to drag it in, okay, to our clip. And the best thing about this week of a creative challenge is that every day we're pulling parts from what we talked about a couple days earlier. So Monday we kicked it off with audio, and we're applying the same principles that we've applied all week. And I think we're trying to do things a little bit differently here today. But just because we're doing a YouTube short, the methods completely apply the same way. All right, so we're going to drag this all the way down because it's pretty far away. And we're going to go to our essential sound. And remember, if you watched on Monday, I talked about how there's presets in the sound effects. So you can actually make it sound distant. And let's just solo it to hear where that is. Very subtle, but that's kind of ideally how we'd hear it because the drone's so far away. I'm going to bring this up a little and let's play it back. Here is why Iceland is the most beautiful country in the world. Cool. So that's sounding like it fits very well. And we're going to keep on rolling. Obviously, we're going to run out of time to create the whole short today. And that's a good question. Bruce had a question about how short should shorts be. That's not really something that I would necessarily say I'm the expert of. I think you can probably push the limit on length more on a YouTube short than you can on a reel right now. I think there's a lot of creators creating shorts that are a minute or 30 seconds. In this case, this first one that I showed you is only 10 seconds. So it could live sort of as an Instagram reel and a short. But I don't think you're as like tied to a short that performs better if it's 10 seconds or a minute. So that's a really good question. And yeah, Laura, I think the music goes pretty well. Let's drag these over right here. And let's keep on chucking along here. Let's see, we got another really cool, oops, sometimes it does this. Got another cool, what's happening here? Oh. Let's just go back to our, sometimes the panels tend to get a little wonky if you move around too much. So I'm going to just go here. We're going to go to our workspace and we're going to go, let's just reset to saved layout. Somehow that's still giving us a problem, but let's see. Not sure why here. Let's see. Anyone in the chat know what that glitch comes from or if it just needs to be closed? Let's see. Let's open up our other project here and see what we got as I'm trying to get this sorted out here. I think the one really cool thing about YouTube Shorts that I'm starting to really like is I'm always thinking in long form content. And obviously, like I've mentioned yesterday on the stream, and like I mentioned, on previous times I've been on here, short form content is absolutely here to stay. And I think it is a foot in the door for anyone that's intimidated by longer form video. So if you're just getting into creating video using Premiere Pro, using your phone, shorts are a really great way and a segue into maybe building an audience. Maybe you have something to say that is a little bit more digestible and people will really want to watch it quicker. It's a really, really great way to get started and build a brand instead of putting all this effort into huge, epic 10, 15, 20-minute YouTube videos. Oh, and Bruce, you had a question about goggles for my drone. I think that's for, Laura, that's for FPV, which I do not fly, but I'm very envious of people who do fly it. So yes, I would love to learn how to fly FPV, but this is just a DJI Mavic Pro drone, so no goggles necessary, just a nice monitor. Okay, so let's say we were ready to export this, just because my Premiere is giving me a little bit of a glitch right now. I want to just show you the export settings before we wrap up here. We have H.264, and I want to match my source the way I have in my timeline. So if I wanted to go in here and actually create this as a 4K video, we would basically just reverse this. So we come in here, 2160 by 4096. If I could type, okay. And this, oh, you got to unlock it though. Okay, so there's like a little bit of the handle on the top here, so we would probably adjust the height back a little bit, but this gives you that 4K version that could go as a short on YouTube to ensure that it doesn't get compressed. Again, we're going to save that to our location in our exports folder. Organization cannot be stressed enough. I talk about it every time I'm on here. And then our file name, and then if you want to maybe just give it a little more oomph, I like to toggle this video down here in the basic video settings, and I just like to use maximum render quality. And you're good to go. So it's a very fun and quick process to shoot something. If you have an idea and you're like me and your ideas are all over the place, YouTube Shorts are a really great way to get that messaging and that idea across, edit it really quickly here in Premiere, get it up on YouTube, and move on to the next video. If there's any more questions in here, Bruce, I appreciate the questions. Laura, thank you everyone for tuning in today and joining me on Adobe Live for day 3. I will hopefully continue to work on the Iceland short. And again, those starter files are there for you and for you to practice at home. Feel free to take this footage, do whatever you'd like with it. Just if you do share it, make sure to give me a little shout out, James Bonanno, or leave the map. Either one will do. And make sure to stick around tomorrow the same time and Friday the same time, as we're going to be continuing our deep dive into Premiere Pro and some of my favorite hacks. So tomorrow we're talking about effects and tips and tricks. And Friday, we're going to actually be diving into After Effects to talk about how to animate some little intros for these shorts and for your YouTube channel. So thank you, everyone. And until tomorrow, take care, everyone.